It's my first fully independent episode of
It's my first fully independent episode of Behind Schedule. I can play any old game I've never touched before, so maybe I should cover a game that isn't as popular. I won't have a bunch of disgruntled fans if I don't enjoy it that much. Yeah, I should play a game that hasn't been talked about to death. Being independent, I'm not beholden to chasing trends, and I could do whatever I want. Or I could play Super Metroid, the genre-defining fan favorite that I've never played before. This is a great idea. Before getting into it, I want to personally thank every single person that supports me on Patreon. All 7 of them. Going independent was definitely the best financial decision I've ever made. Super Metroid is a hard game to talk about. Like, sure, people have strong opinions about it, and it's a cultural touchstone, and there will definitely be someone in the comments complaining if I don't like it, because they're a fan and it's the greatest game ever, whatever. But those are the normal hard points of reviewing a game. Super Metroid is hard to review because, unlike every other game I've played for this series, Super Metroid plays like a game that could have come out this year. Even great games by modern standards like Turok Dinosaur Hunter don't play like modern games trying to replicate that older style of gameplay. In my video on Metroid, when I said that game grew from the roots and became the trunk of the tree that most other games in the genre branch off from, which I hate the term Metroidvania, so I'm going to call them sprawlers from this point on, branch from, this is what I meant. The 2D sprawler genre hasn't evolved to a point where a lot of the older games feel old. The language, the feel, the trends of first-person shooters have gone from Rudy Tooty Demon Shooties to complex multiplayer esports joints that have developed, overused, and dropped a number of trends, like never having to reload or even having a health bar. Which means playing Super Metroid for the first time makes it feel, and God help me for saying this out loud on the internet, kinda basic. But don't take that as a full negative. We're gonna get into that in a moment, but that's just its place in history. How does it play? Okay, it starts brilliantly. You get a brief bit of dialogue.
The last Metroid is in captivity.
And a montage of text and images to fill you on what happened in the last game. It's a solid enough intro, but more important is how the gameplay starts. You enter a lab full of broken equipment and dead bodies, no sign of what caused either. You keep exploring, and find the little Metroid from the cutscene, which is immediately taken by a pterodactyl person and starts a boss fight. Before the fight ends, the lab starts to self-destruct, and the scary dinosaur man flies away with the Metroid. The ticking timer and flashing lights ratchet up the tension into panic as you try to escape. And the sequence has a great effect that moves the whole area while you're climbing, making even the simple act of jumping harder. And it's an effect the game doesn't really ever use again. And that is a shame. Because if it did this again and some more trippy moments like this, it would have really stood out as a unique feature, both when it was new and now. So after escaping the explosion, you land on a planet and hunt for the lost Metroid. Though that's kind of implied because the game runs out of clear story and intro cutscenes at this point. You exit your ship and only have one way to progress, and there's nothing there. Eerie silence, eerie absence of life. After the intensity of escaping the explosion, the stillness of the empty planet is unsettling. The atmosphere builds as you spend minutes delving deeper into the seemingly dead area. And you even find your first power-up, which gives you more places to explore before you even fight your first enemy on the planet. Now, I'm not going to do a play-by-play of the game, but it's got all the basics you'd expect from a sprawler, and improved pretty much all of the ideas present in the original Metroid. You got your power-ups that you can use for sequence breaking, semi-non-linear levels, mandatory backtracking, new areas open up. If you've played a sprawler, you know what I'm talking about. But the pacing of the first area is so excellent. It is really a shame that the game never hits that level of precision again. But it does leave a lasting impression. and it makes those later moments of quietness and panic more intense due to calling back to the feelings that you had at the beginning. What Super Metroid nails is rewarding you with a mix of intrinsic and extrinsic rewards, no matter where you go or what you do. You have to progress by moving forward. That's a dumb statement. That's kind of important in all games. But what if you're struggling to make it through a few rooms without losing a health tank? If you don't go the way that leads directly to the next objective, which you generally have no clue about which the correct way is, it can yield optional upgrades that makes the area easier for you. Like another energy tank, or triple beam for your pew pew pew. It takes it further by hiding incredible power-ups and upgrades in clever spots, rewarding you for exploration and having a watchful eye. And being more watchful is something you're likely to do if you're struggling with combat, and that creativity with your new powers can be used to sequence break, allowing you to get useful power-ups before you normally would be allowed to, making the game a little bit easier for you, or just giving you more options for fun. As you expect with a sprawler, the upgrades have multiple uses, but it only tells you the basics. But it does give you some cool things when you experiment. You can power up to make a cluster bomb when you're in the morph ball. You can hit down while sprinting to jump up. It gives you the joy of experimentation Metroid had, but with some more guidance and understanding on how to use them. But you still need the manual to understand what's going on and what certain power-ups do, like knowing what the Varus suit and Gravity suit do. But a digital manual is not included in the Nintendo Switch Online version of the game, which is the version I played. So it's another baffling case of a subpar job on emulation and game preservation. Not that that's a running theme I've noticed doing this series, but in-game upgrades aren't the only way you get better. You can replay areas or push your luck going further and further to learn enemy patterns and how to best avoid their attacks and destroy them. So you can forego the upgrades and become an unstoppable badass simply by understanding what you're up against and mastering Samus's weapons and the enemy patterns. But whichever way you want to play. I am 100% the first one, by the way. I get through like every boss fight having 200% more health than whatever I had at the last boss fight. You get there by using the same method, pressing forward, even when you aren't sure where to go. Things like incredible atmosphere, a remarkable soundtrack, Samus's iconic design, and lovingly crafted backgrounds all work to support the game, but none of them make the game what it is without the fundamental design that it nails. But this is where I bring up that gameplay that is kinda basic, and then I also brace for impact from the comments section. What was remarkable when Super Metroid released is the literal bare minimum of what players expect from a modern sprawler. Modern sprawlers often stand out by having unique mechanics or weaving a moving story into the game. Or, with the case of Record of Lodoss War, Dietlit in Wonder Labyrinth, both. But playing Super Metroid for the first time right now feels like playing a super basic sprawler that just hopped onto the indie scene, but with a few aspects that are worse. For example, there's a return of some of the classic enemies like the Spiky Boys and the Flying Corns and the Seahorses, but their 16-bit upgrades are way less memorable. There's a map, but you can only see the section you're in, so you can't always navigate where you want without looking up a full map online. And the map doesn't show where doors are, making backtracking a pain because you're never sure which path is a dead end and which one leads to No Fair or Moderna or Lunchland or wherever you're trying to get to. And there's a lot of backtracking, especially if you're like me and you don't know where you're going most of the time. So taking in all of its flaws and its highlights and looking at it as a game that you would play for the first time, is Super Metroid worth playing? Well, it kind of depends on what you're looking for in a sprawler. Super Metroid only having the very basics makes it kind of a hard sell out of nostalgia, or it being a classic, or super fans of the genre. But where it shines is the execution of those basics. Exploration, movement, enemy variety, level design, power-ups. Every aspect of the game, except while jumping, it is still frustrating to pull off consistently, is finely tuned so that every part stands well on its own and flows seamlessly into every other one. It's such a solid base that even when Super Metroid gets left behind in areas where the genre has advanced, it's still a good game. So it's a solid sprawler, definitely above average, but new players may want to go into it with some reasonable expectations. It is a bit lacking when compared to modern games of the genre. The opening of Super Metroid is outstanding, but like I said, it never recaptures that level of brilliance. The frustrating backtracking, the lackluster map, and the lack of direction eventually wore down my enjoyment to where if I wasn't playing it for a review, I might have quit before I hit the final boss. But in completing it, I can appreciate how it continues to make Samus more powerful and enjoyable to play, up until even the final moments. So if you're looking for a sprawler or want to visit a classic, yeah, it's worth a look. Super Metroid is an interesting case of an older game that's mostly outclassed by modern games of the genre, but also shows that a solid foundation and clear vision keeps the game enjoyable. Almost as enjoyable as everyone who supports me on Patreon. Seriously, thank all of you. I joke about the number 7, but seriously, I am thrilled that I entertained enough of you that 7 people were willing to come out and financially support me. That's a lot, and I appreciate it. I'm so glad you enjoy it. It's part of the reason I can make more stuff. And thank you to everyone who donates via Ko-fi when I'm streaming, and thanks to everyone who buys and or leaves a comment over on my RPG stuff on my itch page. I seriously appreciate all of you, and I'm excited that I get the chance to entertain you and others with more streams and videos and other stuff. So truly and honestly, thank you.